Kiss FM. May I have your attention? Check it out. You're listening to Kiss FM. The best music. Yes, Kiss FM.
Now, if I can tear him away from Raul Ruiz Martinez, he always comes blustering in and sets the room alight with his mere presence. As you know, he's in the studio with us this morning. It's a welcome return for my good friend and everybody's favourite, Sir Cliff Richard OBE. Good morning, Cliff.
Good morning. How are you? You're sounding good.
Relaxing, aren't you?
Well, I am resting, actually, because the tour I finished in June started in January, so it was a pretty hectic first half of the year. Even though the tour was planned brilliantly, there were enough days off in between shows for me to not worry about losing my voice, because if I did, I had a couple of days to get over it. And it made it much more relaxed performance for me, and the band and I really enjoyed it. And from what I gather, I don't do a lot of interneting, or whatever you call it, but I've heard that a lot of people on the internet have been saying they really loved the show and they thought it was really top mark. So I was very happy with that. I mean, and I got great reviews, so I'm a very happy bunny at the moment. And coming here means I now don't have to sing anything concert-wise until next May.
Well, you've just answered a lot of the questions in a minute. Well, I'm going to
goodbye then, and see you.
I'm going to get you to pop round my side of the console shortly, and I'm just going to show you my email box.
Okay.
And you're going to be amazed at the amount of... Just come round and have a quick look at this, Cliff. Look, you can breathe down my neck. Look, it starts there and it goes off the screen.
Oh,
down.
really? Oh, my
And
goodness.
now the girl, Sandra's just bought me in this little lot.
Oh my goodness, what are they asking mostly?
Right, well, everybody's asking you, what are your plans now you've finished a well-received, and I heard that from Bill, by the way.
Oh, did you?
He sent me an email to say, I heard Cliff was coming in and you two guys are sure to have a bit of fun. Yes, we will. We're in London. Nasbrag Oliveira, hola, from Portugal. Look at this one here from Seattle in Washington. Stephanie Welsh is asking, will you be coming to Malta again?
Well, I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you, but there's no reason why I shouldn't. The thing is, I don't think people realise that artists, we go where we're invited by promoters and stuff. I mean, I don't sort of pick and choose and say, let's go there, because you need someone to organise it so that when you start your tour, like, as I said, this last tour was planned so well, we didn't have to jump from Australia to London, back to New Zealand to do a concert. It was all perfectly planned, and that's why I stay out of it, and when they ask me, I say, yes, please, I'll come.
Now read that one then. You've just said, okay, Janet Johnson here saying hello. I'd love it if you would ask Cliff about his touring plans, Europe 2014, when, where, how many shows, and what plans do you have to go back down under? Because I know you love it down there.
I do, but having gone to Down Under with this particular show in January and February, and having done it in Britain now, we've got the request to do it in European countries. So through May, I'll be going to Germany, Holland, Belgium, I think Sweden and Norway, France, and so I'll be touring there for a whole month. And hopefully, if you didn't catch me in England, Paris is not that far away.
No.
And Belgium, I noticed a lot of my fans in the past years have come to see the Shadows and I, and sometimes me on my own, where they just get busloads of people come from London, and we're so kind of shocked when we arrive there, and there's all these English people screaming at us.
You're going to be travelling light?
Always.
Just a toothbrush.
Now, the funny thing is, I can't travel light, because you can travel light if you're prepared to wear no shoes.
Yeah.
If you got to take 6 pairs of shoes with you, you've got to have a suitcase to put them in. Then it becomes heavy.
Well, do you know something? Talking shoes, I came on my motorbike this morning and somebody said, well, I was going to pick you up on it. And I said, no, I won't do that, because he'll probably get a bit nervous and he'll give up tennis and take up archery because he'll be all of a quiver. But what I did do, I changed my motorcycle boots, put shoes on for your benefit this morning.
Thank you. That's very kind.
I did it just for you.
Good.
And I'm going to keep them on. Now, here's another one. Look, a lady here said she saw you at a wine signing and she went home to Costa Blanca in Spain, where she lives, and she was interviewed by a local paper about how she met you. So she says, there's the website. Get somebody
what's that? www.
.es.
Oh, the Courier, I see.
The Courier.es. You've got to have a look at that when you get a minute, because you're in there on that paper.
Oh.
Now, here's another one that's come in from, where are we? Right, somebody here saying, who is it? MN Simonis saying, seen your last 3 concerts in Leeds, Manchester and Hatfield. How'd you cope with all this? I was worn out just watching you. How do you manage to do it?
Well, I've never had a problem drumming up energy, you know. I mean, it's always been relatively easy for me. I've kept fit. When I'm here, for instance, in Portugal, I play... I do the gym Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday I play tennis. So I keep myself really active, and I've got a feeling that as we get older, the danger is not that we're not going to get sicker necessarily, but we stop moving. We sort of sit with our feet up and watch Coronation Street or whatever. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I still do watch television things. But the thing is to say to yourself, I am going to keep moving, even if it's just walking around the block a couple of times. It really is important. So I found it very helpful. And play tennis. So the energy factor for the concerts.
Have you been playing tennis in this heat?
Oh, I mean, you know, I prefer the guy I have that comes to play with me, a coach. He has a lot of clients who play in the morning, cooler. Play in the late afternoon, cooler. So he said, I can only get to you between 12 and 2. So I said, 2 o'clock's fine. So I do sweat a lot, but I mean, that's part of the process of having your heart pumping, the blood surging around the body.
Just tell the guys in the white coats to wait a minute before they take him away. Right, let's pick another one here. Elizabeth Nyland, what'd she say? Oh, this one's from Sweden. What happened to the online concerts that you were planning to arrange?
I don't know that I was ever planning to do online concerts. I mean, I don't know anything about the computer, to be honest with you. And usually if something like that was to happen, it would probably be arranged by the record company, I'd have thought, you know, because it's obviously, it would be a great promotional factor. I'm not even quite sure how one starts about doing that. I read about, there was a girl once, wasn't there, that sort of set up a concert thing in her garage and then went and online and sang. I mean, I guess I could do that, but you know what, the one thing I find with the digital situation that we have now and the internet surfing and stuff like that, that people are they've lost track of the quality of things. I mean, I am sick and tired of watching the news programs where they use a cell phone photography and it's all blurred and shaky and horrible. Whereas if I'm going to do a show, I'd rather do it.
Would you rather do it live?
I'd rather do it live and in a situation where you can have nice lighting and choreography, and then when you look at it, it's not just somebody singing, oh look, I could get there with my guitar and maybe somebody else on the piano and sing for an hour.
And the feedback as well from the audience.
Yeah, that's what you need, but the heart of me says I'd rather be a performer singing than just a singer singing, because singing is fine by me, but I usually do it for my friends and it's usually in the kitchen. And I don't think it's that interesting to watch.
I've heard you when you've been making the coffee in the kitchen too, singing away there. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I've got to do a little bit of commercials here, and I'm going to pan through literally these millions of questions I've got.
Shall I go back on my mic?
You might as well look rather than... No, here, I'll bring you a place to sit down. They're worried about you stooped all over me. We'll do a little bit of this, and then we've got some of your new releases not yet heard by anybody, haven't we?
Yes, I worked in Nashville this year in April to do an album. It's called The Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook. You know the Great American Songbook?
Yes.
Which everybody knows. You hear that title, The Great American Songbook, you know, like Rod Stewart did those fabulous albums.
Fabulous.
You know the kind of music you're going to get. Apparently, my record company checked it up. Nobody has ever used that title. So I have created the Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook, and my album is full of rock and roll iconic songs from the 50s.
And I said to you when you walked in the door, literally a couple of minutes before I put you on air, one of the things I was going to ask you personally was, did you intend to go back to your rock and roll roots? How did I know you were going to do this? Is it telepathy?
It may well be telepathy, but I've had a friend of mine who's a friend of mine. He lives in Barbados, and he and his wife, I've got to know them very, very well. And he kept saying to me, why do you keep doing these jazz albums and soul albums? He said, you're a rock and roll singer. Yeah. He said, I'd like to be an executive producer. I said, you mean you want to pay for an album? I told my business manager. He said, if he wants to pay for it, please let him. So I went in, and Eddie Healy, he gave me a list of songs. I chose the ones I liked from his list. EMI gave me a list. Do you know, it was almost identical to Eddie's choices. And so I did this album of 14, they're iconic pop rock songs. Songs that were made famous originally by Bobby Darin, Brian Hyland, Elvis, Little Richard, Buddy Holly, Everly Brothers.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to play a few messages, and I'm going to play one of the tracks from this new one that will be, and I can say this with hand on heart, it will be a Kiss FM exclusive, won't it?
It will be, yeah.
Great stuff.
95.8 e 101.2 Algarve.
Oh, here's a bit of useless information, Cliff, because I had an email came in early this morning. As you now know, this hour is sponsored by the major BP garages across the Algarve, and the owner of the one here in Albufeira, I've got one from his wife to say both he and his dad had a very heavy night last night and they're suffering this morning, so can we play music quietly? Serves him right.
Actually, tell him, could you turn the volume down, because what's coming up next just can't be played quietly.
Exactly right. So it's best he goes out at the moment.
Are you going to play Rip It Up first?
Right, and I'll tell you why. One of our regulars to this show, Peter Walpole, it was last week, he actually asked me to play Little Richard's Rip It Up.
Oh, right, yeah, well, that's...
Now, for some unknown reason, I decided not to play it.
Oh.
Now, isn't it strange? I don't know if this happens to you, but after so many years, you get an inkling of what's going to happen. And something seemed to tell me not to play that track of music.
Prepared my way.
And I'm going to do it now, because it's from the brand new album of yours that's not out yet, but it's called The Rock and Roll Songbook. Yes.
Fabulous rock and roll.
The fabulous. Oh, I'm sorry, Cliff.
Has to be fabulous rock and roll songbook.
Fabulous rock and roll songbook. And this is Cliff Richards. He's going to rip it up, and he's doing it to our studio as well. I've got to tell you. Yes, that's a Cliff I remember from all those years ago. Here's a good one for you. I have got some neighbours where I live in Lagos, you know where it is, and they called their house Vida Nova.
No.
Yeah, I meant to take a picture and bring it in and show you. I walk my dogs by it twice a day. And I keep meaning to do it and showing it to you. They've got a lovely little boy, Callum, who's 7 years old, always buys a packet of crisps and feeds all my dogs one at a time. And he's come on this morning and say, could we please wish his mum, Tracy, a very happy birthday for today?
Oh,
so I think
Tracy,
you should do it.
Of course. Happy birthday to you. I don't know how old you are, but you sound, by your son being 7, quite a young person.
She's a lovely lady.
Absolutely thrilled that you even know who I am.
Well, they do.
Enjoy Vida Nova. The house.
Yes. And anything else you want to buy from the winery as well, I hasten to add. Quick commercial. Beep, beep, beep. I have to do that. And here's another one, talking neighbours, from Victoria Constable Smales, who says, oh, hi, Owen. We have a place just down the road from Cliff and stay all summer here. My little girls love to have their picture taken by Cliff's house. They wanted to ask if Cliff knows how many vines you've actually got.
No, I don't know how many vines. I just know that we have 16 acres under vine. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I never counted. It'd be very difficult to count.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you get the little girls round and get them to go around and count them for you?
You should do that, don't you?
Yeah, that's a good idea. There you go, Victoria. Get the girls to have a little go. The girls' names are Erin and Farah, by the way. So if they knock on your door and say, can we count your vines? Probably give them an abacus or something, because you're not into computers, are you? And another one here came from Susan Elizabeth Swain, who says, can you please ask the Cliff if he was asked to do a radio show? Well, I think that's what we're doing at the moment. Yes. Anyway, for a couple of hours, what songs would you choose to play? And could you mention a few that you would choose to put on?
I don't know, but it's hard to choose songs just off the top of my head, but I definitely would play songs by people like Toto. I'd like to play something by Olivia Newton-John. I love Mariah Carey.
I'm hopelessly devoted to her as well.
Pardon?
I'm hopelessly devoted to her as well.
We all are, though, aren't we? I would definitely dig up Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
It's hard to pick out from the new. I'd like to play Jamie Cullen. Who else do I know? And also, I've been playing an album by not Boyzone. Yeah, Boyzone. And
great harmonies.
Very nice. I would play something by them. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'd need to go through and look through a whole bunch of albums that I have at home. But I also would like to keep people in touch with where all this music came from, which means if you go back to the 50s and 60s, you can play the Everly Brothers, you can play Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and Buddy Holly and Ricky Nelson. Oh, and one of the tracks we haven't played this morning, but it's everyone says to me, who's Roy Hamilton? Well, I've always loved a song called Don't Let Go, and so I dug it up, and I didn't realize until I recorded it, because we looked Roy Hamilton up on the internet. I didn't, the producer did. He was a black singer. Now, I always thought he was a sort of a white American singer, because it's sort of like a hound dog barking on the side of the hill, and it felt like an Elvis-ish type thing, but he was a black singer too, so I chose to record one of his tracks too, but I would play a whole bunch of stuff. I'd make it as diverse as possible.
Now, you mentioned that. I always reckon when people send me CDs to play on radio, or could you do this, or could you do that, and you know I do a bit of artist management as well, I listen to it and think, if I heard that song on the radio, would I be able to identify the singer, because it's so unusual? Everybody sounds so samey these days.
Yeah, I suppose the reason could be that when we first started and music broke away, it was the most incredible change, historically a massive change in musical taste, when it became this fusion of country, hillbilly, gospel, trad jazz, and it became rock and roll. There was nothing else influencing us, so we all sang it our own way. But now, 55, 60 years on, all the singers of today are influenced by everything that's happened in the last 50 years, and therefore they're all can tend to sound similar because they sing in the same way. So that may not be the answer though, but it's, as you asked me that question off the top of my head, it seems to me that the influences that everybody's getting are from the same people.
Now,
and so therefore the chances are you sound the same.
Well, you've seen all these massive changes over the period of time, particularly in recording, because in the early days, all the things that we would do in a studio, you heard what you sang and what the musicians were playing without anybody digitally altering or enhancing them.
No, and that's what's nice about the new album, The Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook, because I recorded live in the studio. In fact, when I wrote my own sleeve notes, and I said it felt like being back in the studio in the 50s, Studio 2, Abbey Road, with the Shadows. Only now I'm thinking to myself, no, it ain't the 50s, it ain't the Shadows, and it ain't Studio 2. But I was in Nashville with musicians, and we were singing and playing live. The only overdubbing we did, one, because we had to, the saxophonist couldn't be there. He was in Pittsburgh, so we sent him the tracks, he sent them back, and then we mixed him in. And the keyboard player did a couple of extra keyboard sounds for us. But otherwise, it was like being with the Shadows again. Singing live with them, it was absolutely so exciting. I enjoyed every second of it.
Right, I'm going to play another exclusive from this forthcoming album, The Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook. I've got it right this time.
You did.
But I'm just going to do these messages to start with, and then we'll come to another track, which is also a favourite of mine, originally recorded by Brian Hyland.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, I know.
You do.
Yeah, your memory's better than mine, but there's some things I remember, Cliff.
Across the Algarve.
This is the More Music Weekend.
Kiss FM.
Now, with your kind permission and consent, Sir Cliff Richard, I'm going to play this track of music from the forthcoming Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook, Silver to Kiss. It was done by originally Brian Hyland, then Jason Donovan did it, didn't he?
Yes, he did, actually, yeah. It's a classic track, and it's a classic song, and I've tried to pick the ones that were my favourites at the time, and hope that they were other people's favourites too.
Well, I can tell you there's some really good ones. Wake Up a Little Ocean, that's on there. This is track 4, or will be when it comes out. And while I'm playing this, you've had your coffee, haven't you?
Yep.
You notice I've only just got mine. Look. I'm wasted in this place.
But we gotta say goodbye for the summer. Darling, I promise you this, I'll send you all my love every day in a letter, sealed with a kiss. Yeah, it's gonna be a cold, lonely summer, but I'll fill the emptiness. I'll send you all my dreams every day say goodbye for the summer, knowing the love we'll miss. Oh, let us make a pledge to meet in September. Seal it with a kiss. Yeah. I don't wanna say goodbye for the summer, but I'll fill the emptiness. I'll send you all my love every day in a letter, sealed with a kiss, sealed with a kiss, sealed with a kiss.
Well, we've got one that's sealed with a kiss, especially for you, that came up because Tracy, whose birthday you said happy birthday to her, she said, right, to give you a bit of a clue, you had a #1 hit with The Minute You're Gone, the year she was born in 1965.
Oh,
so my maths are so good, I can tell you she's 48 today.
48 years young.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Only a kid compared to
baby.
us, isn't she?
Absolutely. Well done, you.
Now, I've got to ask you this. Going way, way back, and if memory serves again, it was Peter who bought 6 villas here in the early 60s and went back home and said to you, I've got your villa in the Algarve if you want one.
Yeah, that's right. My then manager, Peter Gorman, he died
Peter
some years
Gorman.
back now.
Right.
But Peter actually bought 6 houses for us. One for himself, one for Bruce Welsh of the Shadows, 2 for our then agent, Leslie Grade, 1 for Frank Ifield, and 1 for me. And he said, if you don't like it, you can sell it and you'll probably make some money on it too. But I came and I loved it, absolutely loved it, and stayed there for quite a long time. And that was way back. The first time I came, it was in 1961.
Now, the question I've been asked to put to you, that when you first came in the 60s, it was a hard place to get to, no airport at Faro. So what was the attraction for you? What hit you immediately you came?
Well, I mean, again, that first journey down from Lisbon was pretty horrific. I remember we got in a taxi. There were 2 taxis, in fact. The guys got lost, so it took us about 6 hours to get here. And so I was very grateful. But the thing is, I'm very grateful when the Faro airport arrived. But the thing was that once I got to the house, it overlooked the whole of Albufeira. And of course, in those days, we could actually...
Village.
It was a village. It was just sitting low down at the bottom of the hills, and I could look to the left and see the whole darn thing. Now, from that house now, you can't see half of Albufeira because it's gone right up the back, up the mountainside, so to speak. And so there's some big changes. But sometimes the changes are disappointing for people like us. But for the people of the Algarve, it was a fantastic change in their lives. And so you can say to yourself, at least the people of the Algarve had a better lifestyle. Of course, the recession hit recently, and Portugal, Spain, they've suffered dreadfully. And I heard you talking about, changes that are obviously an improvement, but still in that negative little mark. And so therefore it'll be a little while before everybody here starts to feel better, starts to feel the process.
It's going to take a little while.
It will take a while.
Come on,
Be
we've
patient.
seen it before and we've survived it. We're
Absolutely,
Brits.
yeah.
Step
Have
up
another
a
glass
lip
of wine
and all that. Yeah.
dig another onion out. It's a lovely country, and I think the people are really nice. So it's just a matter of being patient.
I'm just wondering if your answer to this next question is going to be the same as Bonnie Tyler's. And the question is, how much time do you spend in the Algarve each year, present days?
I try to come down every July and August.
As soon as Wimbledon's finished.
As soon as Wimbledon's over, I come straight here and spend the 2 months, pretty well the 2 months. What I'm hoping that I can do in the future is I'd like to start coming down in June as well, and go back for Wimbledon, and then come back here again. So I'm aiming to try and get 3 months here. It's a fantastic place to be in the summer. I know it gets really hot in August, but I've noticed this year, for instance, even though it's been very hot during the day, there's been this cool breeze that blew up
Beautiful in the
it's
evenings.
been really nice in the evenings. So it's a yes. I'm trying to get a few more weeks here each year.
And, of course, these cool evenings, it's nice to have a bottle of that pinky liquid, and you can say congratulations with it, can't you?
You can, yeah. You know, it's the same name as that house of Stacey's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's was it Vida?
Vida Nova.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. And we're going to actually bring out we're going to bring I'm going to say champagne. We can't call it a champagne, but it's a champagne style of making process.
So a sparkling vino.
In Portugal, it's called spumante.
Yeah.
But it's actually it's a sparkling, but it is a champagne style of drink. And this year, coming out at Christmas time, we're going to call it Congratulations.
To wet the head of the baby Prince George, yeah?
Well, actually, no, we had the idea 5 years ago before he'd even been thought of.
I think Prince William and Kate haven't even thought of him now.
Last year we had last year we talked about maybe making use of my name a little bit more, maybe. And when they suggested congratulations, I said fantastic, because everybody's having birthdays and anniversaries, and whenever I go to a restaurant, they say happy birthday, and guarantee someone will start saying congratulations. So why not have a bottle of sparkling stuff that's got congratulations on the label?
Yeah, why not? Now, another question says, apart from a keen hands-on interest in your own wine business, has the Algarve for you always been solely about relaxation, or have you spent time here developing your music in terms of songwriting, rehearsing, or recording, for example? I know you rehearse in the kitchen, don't you? You sing in the kitchen, in the bathroom.
I've never recorded here. I did do some reading. I wrote the book I wrote. I recorded the spoken word to it in Portugal. But generally speaking, I come here to get away from it all and I have a big long break. Mm-hmm. In the past, what's happened is I've used that 2-month period to learn the songs for the forthcoming tour, which usually starts around November time. Mm. So it's also been partly a work process too. And I have brought my when I did my the 500th birthday of Albufeira concert?
Yes, I certainly do.
I brought the whole band down, and I've got this huge room down by the pool, and we stayed there for about 4 days and rehearsed. And so it can be a rehearsal spot too, but generally speaking, it's a chance for me to unwind, and it's the most, of all the places I go to, I think Portugal's the most relaxed. I feel more peace-filled here, particularly as I've got the vines all around me. It's a really nice feeling there. I sometimes don't leave the house for a couple of weeks. I'll maybe go to dinner one night, but I don't feel any need to leave. And when I get back, I feel very rejuvenated and ready to go.
It is a very special place, isn't it? Everybody says that. Talking about special places brings me to the subject of special people. And one of the questions is, we know you're a very sociable, down-to-earth, ordinary type of guy, but you are a great host and you've always got people round you. Can you mention some of the well-known people who have been guests at the Quinta?
Well, I've got good close friends who, like Gloria Honeyford and Stephen, her husband. They've been a few times. Cilla Black has been.
Yep.
Daniel O'Donnell and his wife, they're good friends of mine. Of course, they're friends. One doesn't just look up the charts and invite somebody that you don't know to come and stay, even if you're a fan. But so it's usually been people who are friends of mine, and it's a nice place to and they enjoy it too, because they come in and they fall very easily into the pattern where I say, look, you do your own breakfast. If you want, it's all there, whatever you want. We come down at different times. We tend to eat lunches and dinners together, but it's a very relaxed situation, and of course they all appreciate that too. They like me, they all want to get away from
your own thing,
the mess of life, and try to get back into being calm and peaceful again.
Yeah, because your previous house, of course, now is a hotel, but your farm isn't. So in other words, stay with me by all means, but get on with it. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, fair
Absolutely.
enough. Well, look, before I do a few more messages, I picked another track, or you have picked another track from the fabulous rock and roll songbook that's coming out. When is the release date? Is a question that's just come up.
The release date is 11th of November. And I'm going to be in London for that period, about a 2 or 3 week period there, promoting it. I'm going to have to do radios and TVs and stuff like that and talk about the album, but also the DVD, because when the tour started in Australia, the show was about half an hour longer, and we decided to do the DVD at the Opera House in Sydney, and it turned out really well, and so therefore they're going to release the CD and the DVD together, so it'll give me a chance to talk about both of them all in one breath, so to speak.
Well, but everybody should remember that, because it is Remembrance Day, the 11th of November.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Of course it is.
I didn't
11th
know
of
that.
November.
I'd
So a
forgotten
good
that.
day to choose to release it.
Perfect, yeah.
And hopefully, if Tanya in your office up there in Surrey is listening,
Yes.
she will also remember to send me a copy.
Oh no, there's no way we're going to send you a copy. You're kidding.
Oh, I'm not playing this now. This can go in the bin, right? This one. His master copy I've got. I'm going to trash it. That's the end of that. You will not be getting the fabulous rock and roll songbook. Well, okay, I'll give in.
Kiss FM.
Just to prove the point, the old Cliff Richard is back to his original form, doing rock and roll the way it should be played. Cliff, brilliant album. And I know you're kidding, you're not having one. I'm definitely going to get one off your
you
people.
will. Absolutely. You'll be top of the list, mate.
Yeah.
And if Tanya forgets, you think Bill will? Bill won't forget.
No, Bill, he looks after
And Tanya
me.
doesn't forget either, really.
No, she's pretty
so you
good.
might end up with 2.
Yeah, she's pretty good. I think she's got the idea now that when you come in with me, it's not really that serious.
No.
You know, and it's all a little bit laid back.
It is.
And while I'm going to pick a track from this in a minute. I know you've got your favourite ones, but I'm going to find one I want to do. Okay? I'm going to do these little messages because we apologise to people, but I'm right on time at exactly 11:30.
Across the Algarve.
This is the More Music Weekend. More music variety.
Well, I'm very sorry. I haven't got the time to put all the questions that have come in to Sir Cliff Richard, but I'm picking a few from far-flung places, and here's one from a lady called Walquiria Maceda de Souza, and she says, "Hi Cliff, I'm a Brazilian fan. And in which region of Brazil are the farms where you do your humanitarian work on behalf of my people?"
Oh, actually, I can't remember
It's
where
a
it
big
was.
country, isn't it?
I know. I've only been there once, too, and I was flown there very quickly. I spent about 3 days. It was... Oh, my goodness. I really can't remember, but it was way inland, and it was where the climate change had taken effect most. And the farmers were having great difficulty in managing their farms. So the groups I supported, Tier Fund and one other group, the local group, were teaching them how to, for instance, collect rain. They looked like it had a tennis court there, and it sloped towards the middle, and actually it was a place that caught the rain, and they built a tank underneath, and then they said, once you've got water in that tank, you've now got to use it sparingly to bring your vegetables on and whatever it was. And I feel embarrassed that I can't remember.
Right, it's
where
a
it was.
vast country, and I'm just
is
throwing
vast.
these things out at you. In full marks, you've answered every single question. And just to show you the power of Kiss FM in the Algarve, here's one from South Africa. And it comes from Linda Polhammer, and she said, "What are some of the funniest or strangest things that fans have thrown to you on stage?"
Well, I did have a bra thrown up the other day. One of my final concerts at the Hampton Court Palace. Of course, fortunately, I have a girl singer, so I threw it up to her and she put it on. Well, over the top of everything. I said but that's one of the strangest, because you expect Tom Jones to get that, but not Cliff Richard.
Yeah.
But I can now say, Tom, I get bras thrown at me.
Actually,
But of course, one of the funniest things was not so much having thrown on stage, but way back, right when I was still with the Shadows, this great big box arrived, and it was it had Ferguson or something written on it, and I thought, oh my God, somebody sent me a television set. Of course, in those days you didn't get gifts like that. Well, I opened it up and this girl popped out and wanted an autograph, and apparently her boss had put her in it, brought it into carefully lifted it up, and put it on the floor. So that was one of the funniest ones I've ever had.
It wasn't Sheila Ferguson, was it? By the way?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and here's one talking about things being given to you. A message came in via Facebook from Chris Constantine. Says, "Hi Cliff, hope you're well. I can assure you he's well and he's looking really good, and hope you're enjoying your well-deserved holiday. Love the tour. My friend and I are in the front row in Manchester, so a big thanks, and we hope you got our red roses, the teddy bear and the card. We love you lots. Been a devoted fan since I was 7 years old, and at the tender age of 58, I love you even more than ever."
Oh, that's really nice. And the red roses, in fact, I do remember them because I was staying with a friend of mine. She's got a fabulous house in Hatton, and those roses were on her kitchen console table, which we live in kitchens, don't we, for at least 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So thank you
So
very
nice,
much.
fresh red roses, were they?
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
And here's another lady. This is devotion for you. Listen to this. Linda McGregor said, "I've been a Cliff fan for 55 years and saw him for the first time in Melbourne. She travelled from Glasgow in Scotland to Australia, and she actually was able to tell you that she'd come all the way from Glasgow to see you, and you answered to her, 'Well, would you believe I came all the way from India to see you?'" And she remembers that well, and I hope you do too.
Oh, I do.
And she thought it was a brilliant reply.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And quite often when they say, "I've come all the way from Scotland to see you in Sydney," I always say, "Are you crazy? I'm going to be in Scotland next week." Even if I'm not.
And here's one from Elster Conink that said, "When I was 5 and 6 years old, I listened to Cliff's songs with my brothers on the radio and saw you for the first time in Zalroma in Borghout in Belgium. So thank you so much for all the years."
Oh, no, my pleasure, really. I've enjoyed every second of these years.
And of course, you've already answered this. The new CD is out on the 11th of November. And are you going to be performing here in the Algarve? Only if you stand at his gate and hear him singing in the kitchen is the answer to that one. I can answer that for you, Connor.
Well, you can. I've often wondered why. It's crossed my mind because people have asked me a number of times, even on this visit, about why don't you come and perform here? Again, one has to go back and say you need to be invited to perform. But I might throw a couple of ideas out to somebody and say, why don't I do, for instance, I would be the perfect person to do a summer holiday tour. And maybe play in Faro, Portimao, maybe Albufeira, maybe go down to Spain and do a couple there. Everywhere that the Brits go and have a fabulous holiday, well, maybe I could do that sometime, but you'd need the local promoters to figure out whether or not it was going to work and whether it's financially viable for them. But yeah, it appeals to me to do that because I so enjoyed the concert we did on the beach at Albufeira. What was it, 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, it was 500th centenary, wasn't it?
Fantastic fun. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, we've already asked you about going to Australia, and we know that you love going down there. Oh yeah, one of the questions that came in, I've forgotten who it was from. Oh yeah, here's one from one of our little lads who listens on the internet, and he said, "Could you please answer Cliff this question? How old were you when you started singing, and how did you start?"
Oh, well, I started, I never thought I started this early. But when I went to Australia once, a woman said, "I've got a letter you wrote to me from school." And I remembered in school they used to try and encourage us to write, and we had pen pals. So we had a pen friend, and I was given a name, I can't remember the name, Josephine. So there's this letter, and it's got, "Dear Josephine, my name is Harry Roger Webb. I live in Cheshunt, Hertfordshire. I go to this school. I play football. I like playing rugby, and my ambition is to be a famous singer. I am 12 and a half years old. Best wishes, Cliff." I mean, Harry.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be 12 and a half years old, so I must have already been thinking about it then. I don't remember at that age. If somebody said to me, "When did you start?" I was about 14, heading to 15 when Paul Anka and Elvis and Bill Haley came out.
I was going to say, it must have been somebody prior to Elvis then, because he was your great influence, was he not?
Yeah, but I'd already been listening to people like Frankie Lane, and so I was into listening to music. But it's just one of those things. I wanted to do it from quite young, and I was pretty well Justin Bieber's age because he was 17 last year when he started, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was 17 when I recorded "Move It," and later that year in October, 14th, my Move It record got to number 2 in the charts on my 18th birthday. So I was singing. By the time I was certainly 15, 16, I was singing, not professionally, but with bands and just messing around local bars and things like that.
An old pal of mine who was a DJ, and he was also the commentator when I was stock car racing all those years ago. He now runs a company called Heart of the South Racing, horse racing, and he says, I've just got back from Portugal. Sadly, didn't get to see you, but spoke to some of your other guys on Kiss FM. Please give Sir Cliff my regards. I met him in Barbados a couple of years ago. What a Superman he is. Well, there you go. We all know that.
Thank you.
Now, here's another one from Val Sanderson. She said, Cliff, if you could choose a venue for a concert anywhere in the world where you haven't already performed, where would you choose?
Well, how would I know how good it was if I hadn't performed there? Do you know what I mean? It's hard to choose a venue where you haven't been, because I wouldn't know what it would be like.
Well, okay,
I could
probably.
choose one where I have been. I think one of my favourite venues is the Royal Albert Hall in London.
Oh, well.
Because it feels like it's in the round. It feels incredibly intimate, even though when it's jam-packed, it's got 5,000 people. So I would choose that. But in terms of where I'd like to be, where I haven't been, oh my gosh, I really don't know.
Here's another weird one from a lady called Preta de Nil Galay. That's a good place to live, isn't it? Preta de Galay.
Yeah. Yes, nice.
Please, could you read this question to Sir Cliff on my behalf? Since you recorded Living Doll with the young ones for comic relief, I've noticed that whenever you sing Living Doll live on the stage, the audience always sings out these two words, get down.
Yes.
Now, are you annoyed by that, or do you think it's funny? This is from Petra de Neel in the Netherlands. A Cliff fan since 1961, she says, and never, ever getting tired of seeing or hear you sing and or talk on radio.
Well, this is a person of terrific taste. And as to the Living Doll occurrence, no, it doesn't annoy me. I mean, obviously, I had that big million seller with Living Doll, but remember when the next one came out, it was, I think, 27 years later, and we had another number one with it, but it was a comedy version. So people have a good memory of it, and it's a chance for them to participate. I think people like to participate sometimes, and that get down is a funny bit because it's not even musically correct. But so when they do it, you know, we smile at each other and think, well, that's it. They'll be doing it again tomorrow, but it's all over for now. But it's fun and they like doing it, so there's no problem for me.
Right. Anybody who's trying to phone, keep calling. Obviously, we're very busy in the studio at the moment. Everybody's rushing around. We will get to the phones any minute now. Quick one here from Sheila Edmondson. I would just like to know, Cliff, that I've been I'd like Cliff to know that I've been an ardent, faithful fan for nearly as many years that you've been in the music industry. I would very much like to know if there are any more up-and-coming concerts. Well, I think you've already answered that. The new album out on the 11th of November. And she says she went to Harewood House with her sister and really enjoyed every minute. So been to the wooded depths of Claygate even.
Well, Harwood House, I wonder if they must have been as cold as I was. That was the night when I was singing, I could see the mist coming out of my voice, you know, the condensation. It was so cold. Can you think in June? And in fact, I have to be honest here and say that I had to wear, all the rest of the tour, I wore a vest because it was so cold. And if I could have got a pair of long johns that would fit me under my tight one, but I couldn't find a sheer enough pair of
I'm going to
long
tell
johns.
you, riding a motorbike in the spring and the autumn, I wear the long johns. Trust me, I do. Yeah, not a pretty sight.
It was really cold. I went right the way through, and I kept feeling sorry for the crowd. At least we're being physical up there, and we've got the lighting on us. But the audiences must have got quite cold sometimes. And I'm sorry about that.
Now, here's another one that's come from the Netherlands, from Reno Noordergraaf. And it said, so sorry, but I missed the signing on the 2nd of August in Cavallero because of my birthday. Will there be another signing somewhere else? Would love to have a signed bottle of your fantastic wines.
I believe that I am going to do another one, and is it in the Valdelobo area, I think?
That's scheduled. On this visit?
On this visit, yeah.
Oh, well, watch local press, and if you listen to this show, I'm sure we'll find out.
But I am doing another one, I'm sure of it.
if you've got it wrong, I'm sure Nigel or one of the guys will give us a call right now and let us know, because I know Nigel will be listening this morning. And he was there helping you out, or hindering you over there on the 2nd of August, wasn't it? Yeah. Let's see this one. No, that's, we've already answered that one. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's do a little bit of rock and roll.
Okay.
From the fabulous rock and roll songbook. And I think this is a track of music that anybody's ever played rock and roll has probably played with a band or another.
That's why it had to be on the album. It's just, to me, it's a classic example of almost a guitar and vocal duet. You know, Move It was kind of influenced by that, because in Move It, it's come on pretty baby, let's move it and groove it, do down, do down, do down, do down, shake baby, do down, do down. And Johnny B. Good does a similar kind of thing. It's just a perfect.
And it does sound on this new album that's coming out 11th of November, folks.
And before you play it, let me just tell everybody: just turn up volume on your radio.
Yeah,
it's got to be played. This has got to be played loud.
Annoy the neighbours.
Yeah.
Should we do the same in here?
Yes.
Watch
please.
this building collapse.
Okay,
let's do it.
Kiss FM.
Now, we had a message come in that Rao, apart from being the financial advisor, you know, he's been making the coffees, the chauffeurs, everything. And he's taken a message from one of your locals, I think it's in Gear, Clive Davis, whose wife sadly passed away 2 years ago, but he's listening to us right now. And you mentioned the 500 Centenary concert that you did, and apparently she muscled her way to the front of the crowd, and she actually got on your DVD.
I know who he's talking about, because in fact that little sign followed me around quite a bit, and all it said on it was "What a night!" KNIGHT. What a night!
What a night!
And so thanks for that.
Yeah, you have to put up with all these sort of puns. Don't
But they're
you?
good. And the one I like that one, and I like another one. The other one that's been used around recently is "Cliff, you're hotter than Robbie."
Oh, yes.
I love it. Robbie's never seen it, of course.
Oh, and I'll tell you another one. There's always a joker, isn't there? Do you remember when we did the Stars Sing for Charity, and you said, look, I'll sit with you because I'll face that way. And this guy comes up and he puts his hand on your shoulder and on mine. He turned around and he said, I suppose these are the nights on the round table.
That's right.
Yeah, good
you've got to get those.
Get those out.
I mentioned this one. Somebody in New Zealand, and apparently her computer sort of died or went down. What's the phrase? Went down.
Yeah.
But she's trying to listen to us. Her name is Jessica Woods. She's 17 years old, and she's been trying to listen all the way in New Zealand. So I hope your computer has come alive again.
Well, maybe we weren't playing that music loud enough. It shook the walls in here, didn't it?
Or maybe it was too loud and blew her gasket.
Maybe we've broken her computer. But I've got to tell you, you've actually screwed up our streaming this morning. Bonnie Tyler did it. You did it before, and you've done it again this morning.
Well, if you're listening to Bonnie... Is Bonnie... No, Bonnie's not around. She is.
She's back. She's back here.
Bonnie, we love you, darling. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, have some more piri-piri, eh?
She loves it.
Yeah.
And she gets recognised from behind.
I know.
I can't believe it.
We went out with her and Robert, and we thought, a nice quiet little place, nobody will know. Took 20 minutes to get to the table.
I know.
She's incorrigible, and her laugh.
And good fun.
And when she laughs, I have to turn all the volumes down.
Well, the funny thing is, once when she came to dinner, I was talking about my jazz album, and I said to her, I'm doing things like "Had to Be You." She said, "Oh, I wish I could do that." I said, "You could do a jazz album." She said, "No, I don't mean that." She said, "I wish I could sing quietly like that."
Well, look, do you know, we're 4 minutes to the midday hour. I'm going to have to do this again now. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun?
Am I going to say goodbye now?
No, you're not going.
Oh.
Because I was telling you when you were doing the wine signing, you know, I've got to tell everybody, this is such an ordinary, down-to-earth, feet-on-ground guy that when he was doing a wine signing over my neck of the woods, getting to the end, and your sister Joan arrived, and she's gone to me, Owen, is he going to be long? I said, no, a couple of people. She said, well, his lunch is ready, you know.
I know.
And she's like taken over from your mum, hasn't she? Your baby sister looks after you, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's what sisters do.
Yeah, of course they do. Isn't it great having sisters?
I think she's listening as well.
She should be this morning. If you are, Joan, good morning, darling.
What time is it now? 12. Oh, yeah, she's probably going to have a a glass in one hand, I think, of champagne or
I
something.
noticed in one of the press photos, by the way, you were ever so polite. You had a little tiny glass. Joan was in the corner.
In a mug.
Yes.
She gets her champagne in a mug.
Yeah. And why not Joan? Long may it continue. Let's do a bit of this, Cliff, and then before you disappear, I know you want to get away, but you know I always make you late.
You do.
You know that. Yeah, there you go. You can't escape.
Kiss FM. May I have your attention? Check it out. You're listening to Kiss FM. The best music. Yes, Kiss FM.